Today we will talk about two texts between page 27 and 41. Their names are Criticize of the Object, Predicament of the Texture, and Collage City and the Politics of Bricolage. In the first text, it mentions that Roman culture is influenced by the ideas of Karl Popper. Popper is an Australian science philosopher who lived in between 1902 and 1994. We can say that Popper is hard on utopia and soft on tradition, and he must be understood as a critic of utopia and the exponent of tradition's usefulness. According to Popper, tradition is very important for a society because this is how a society communicates to each other. Actually, we can accept that the way of life, history, language, and the other things are included in tradition. In science, contrary to the tradition, it is hypotheses that enable us to discover facts. The role of tradition in society is equivalent to role of hypothesis of science. Tradition not only establishes a certain order or social structure, but also provides us a base that we can think on and discover ideas. To give an example, myths are specific traditions that somehow inspire new theories that imperfectly helping to explain society. Myths are theories produced in ancient times when events could not be explained by science. For example, according to ancient Greek mythology, people living at that time saw the cause of the storm as Zeus' anger, which was a satisfactory way of explaining back then.
Popper says these are dangerous and pernicious. Utopia proposes a consensus about objectives, and it's impossible to determine and scientifically. There is no scientific way of choosing between two ends. He says that it is not possible to estimate the results of the utopias, and that the utopian draft's plan cannot be drawn only with science. Who would create the utopia to be created of according to whom, and who decided? That's why Popper opposed to utopia as an idea. Utopia proposes the achievement of abstract goods rather than the eradication of concrete evils. Of utopia introduces itself as a blueprint for the future, and it's doubly coercive since the future cannot be known to us. The power of utopia becomes questionable because we cannot know the future. Thomas More's utopia could not fail to be happy because they could not choose but be good. In fact, utopian drafts don't give us the right to choose. They are total designs which are very firmly isolated models of society. We could see in the Fleury's for plan for the Sisyphean, it argued that all human situation could exist in a hierarchical and orderly city. It's very closed and centripetal shaped for the city. There is no way to change any object this plan. That's why Popper is completely against the utopias.
The science of government. Tools and techniques which must be used. Sophisticated forecasting the kind of informed choices which are necessary. If we are to establish mastery over the process of change, these are usually sentences said by politicians. For this reason, we can say that we will not only undermine new structures that will take place in the future, but also an obstacle to evolution and privatization. In 1969, the White House announced that they were doing foresight studies about the future and that these studies will provide a whole set of information about the possible future. Politicians promised the future was perfect. But the form of the future is based on future ideas, and this form cannot be predicted. Utopias actually mean total design. Just like in modern architecture, total design can only mean total control, and control not by abstraction relation to the absolute value of science or history. We can see in there Le Corbusier's city plan, Radiant City, which is an example of total design in modern times. In this plan, all human situations are calculated and certain. These cannot changeable. In this table, we see the comparison of fox and hedgehog. Hedgehog only eats one thing, fox always running to the next new thing to eat. When trouble comes, hedgehog curls up and holds its ground. When trouble comes, fox tries to outrun it. Hedgehog defends a very small territory, fox defends a large territory. Le Corbusier is a fox in the form of a hedgehog, because the complex house has the idea of a simplicity. Le Corbusier is the fox in the appearance of a hedgehog.
Engineers try to gather information and finalize a single conclusion. The bricklayer is adept at performing a large number of diverse tasks, but unlike the engineers, bricklayer offers a more realistic approach by producing solutions on existing problems. Actually, it is similar to a hedgehog. This approach will be exactly the logic of Collage City. Rowe and Cotter thinks that an architect should be a fox and also bricklayer. The photos on the left belong to Versailles Palace, and the photos on the right belongs to Villa Adriana. In this table, we see the comparison of Versailles Palace and Villa Adriana. Versailles Palace. Versailles is a radical criticism of Paris. As a prophetic vision of the city, an enormous vindication of Fillerate-style utopia in which trees have come to serve as buildings, as a very literal exaggeration of utopian decorum. One great idea, holistic design, and hedgehog perception. Villa Adriana. The villa is a conservative endorsement of Rome, tolerates circumstances, land, and random elements. Collage or iconography of complex, orchestrated pieces, and box perception. These should be brought together with the logic of bricolage. 17th century Rome exemplifies the dialectic of ideal urban types. It's a complete city where the corporate parts assert their own identity. According to Rowe and Cotter, Rome is a good example of bricolage. Thanks for listening.